Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I'm Magdalena. I'm Lithuanian, currently living in Denmark, together with my husband. Today I'm here to talk about my recent knitting, what I finished, what's on my needles. So sounds good to you? Grab your knitting, grab your drink, and let's spend some time together. So let's start with what I'm wearing, what I finished. This is first finished object, big finished object of this year for myself. First garment for myself. Yes, there was some baby gift knitting items, but we don't count them. Well, actually, in a way, I should count them because then I feel like, oh, I didn't finish. It's almost 1/4 of the year passed, and I finished only one sweater. But that's not it. I done a lot of things, just not the garments for myself. But so I'm super happy and excited about this sweater. I was dreaming about it for so long. I think the first time I was reading about red sweater was in my teenage years when I bought some yarn. Then when I first started knitting, my second ever finished sweater was red cable sweater. The only issue is that it was knitted in panels, and when I sewed them together, I noticed that it was way too small. I still try to wear it, at least for a few times, but I always trying to prolong the sleeves, prolong the body. It was never comfortable. It was never meant for me. So I gifted it to my godmother, to my aunt, and she was really happy with it and she was wearing a lot of it. But I still wanted a red cable sweater. So once I bought a yarn to knit my boyfriend's sweater, it was soft. It was nice to the touch. It was Viking Garn, Viking wool, and it has really beautiful color selection. But when I finished the sweater for my husband, it immediately, at that time boyfriend, so we survived a boyfriend curse, it started spilling, and it's always spilling. I try to depill, but it always spills. It's always quite tragic. So I had this beautiful yarn, and I wanted a sweater. And cables, so they say, they make it not to pill as quickly, but looking at that sweater, I was thinking that it needs more. And another help, they say, is to hold together with Mohair strands. So I knitted this with Viking Garn, Viking wool, plus knitting for olive, soft silk mohair. And it was, yeah, I got this adorable color, adorable texture. It's still, I can see that it will pill at least a little bit, and I believe that for this yarn the issue is that it was hardly spun, meaning that it is almost not spun. It was so it was soft, but at the same time it pills a lot. And yeah, so keeping it together a little helps. I wore it already, I think 7 days. I checked on my calendar app, the sweater, so already at least a week of wear, and it won't be maybe as crisp and wearing. I feel maybe it's a bit soft, so maybe the cables do not pop up as much, but it is so cozy to wear, so nice, and I think it's totally turned out so well. I was so scared about it when I started even showing on camera in some earlier podcasts. I was talking about it. I remember I was scared about the neckline depth, that I made it way too wide, will it fall almost down the shoulders. I was really doubting. I was designing it myself for this yarn gauge and etc. I was scared that my raglan with pearls may look not as nice as, you know, raglan with some knit stitches, not on pearls, but for the stitch count it was way better, because I was thinking maybe to do on this 1x1 rib, not rib, 1x1 cable, so 2 stitches cable twist. But by the stitch counts it was way better if I do it on 2 purl round. So I was doubting. I frogged a little bit, and I believe it turned out really well. In some cases, I think in both ways, if I frogged or not frogged, it would turn out okay. Because one of the reasons I was frogging was to make sure that I was not decreasing too quickly. I done some sleeve decreases, and I think for me, This is wide sleeve, but it is wide in still in the comfort level, not on as wide. It wouldn't be comfortable, so it's still tapered, but not too tapered as I usually do. I usually over reduce stitches and then it gets really fitted, and I enjoy that look, but I didn't want to stretch out cables, and I was thinking that I shouldn't maybe go to as small as possible, and it should be like comfortable and movable. And one of the things are that I knew that cables will groove, but I thought that they squish the fabric like this, so when it will block out, I was expecting it to get wider but not longer, and actually I think it also got longer, so the sleeves are longer than I would ever want or knit, but at the same time I believe the sleeves got shorter and shorter, because I think on the elbow when you fold your arm, the sleeve is getting shorter. So by wearing, if it is fitted sleeve, I think they're getting shorter and shorter. So having it from the first look a bit too long sleeves, it feels like it's working up. And since it is fitted, it's also, I can just like roll up like this, and I have my hands free, and I really enjoy hands free to have it really comfy to wear. And this is where fitted sleeves are really good at. So I believe, yeah, the sleeves are already getting maybe slightly shorter, and I think the border length is also really nice and long, because this is warm sweater, this is cable sweater. It also had some body shaping. I don't know if you can see it, but here some cables are going and coming, and I understood that from all this cabling. I really enjoyed mostly these cables, because you need to cable only every 6. I was cabling every 6 round, so I have no, like, I think one of those action, one was no action row, and this was like action in every 6 row. So I was really excited, and these, every 2nd row cables, or these cables, they were having action every single round, and the heart is also was really to follow along, but it was also action on every single row, and this was like a bit my relaxing cables. And I really want to knit a sweater only with these cables, as they are, I think now they are a lot of sweaters with these cables. Like, I think Favorite Knitwear have some number sweater with that cable sweater. I think some Italian student knitter will release Sandro pullover already, again using this cable stitch, and I believe a lot of shops in not knitting world are selling sweaters of this cable stitch, and I believe it's beautiful. So I believe once I will knit myself a sweater with this cable, but not for now. It was nice. I made myself the sweater, so I planned it, I calculated by my gauge, by my stitch count, how I added cable and motifs as much as I needed. So that was really interesting mental exercise, and especially it was really useful to try to make increases on this stitch. And this cable was quite, I needed to paint every single row, otherwise I was unable to. When you introduce new stitches, you need to know if it is knit on purl, and if you want to already have some cabling happening. That was quite challenging. So this was quite challenging sweater, but it was also really interesting, and by the end of it I was able, I believe, did I knit it one sleeve and a yoke? So the second sleeve was way quicker, because I didn't need to frog it, and I have the sleeve I know, so I just needed to then make it match it. But then I think I knitted something else, maybe finished some gift knitting, and then came back to the sweater, and I was so excited to see that I don't need to check the cable patterns repeats, because I was quite afraid that I failed one of the hearts, but it went quite nicely, so I was happy about it. and it was really nice and went so nicely. The only issue was that I bought 9 balls, 900, I think it was 9 balls, one ball 100 meters, so 900 meters of the first yarn. And then when I was buying Mohair, I bought again, it was 4 balls of knitting for olive soft silk Mohair, or how it is called. It is also 225 meters per one ball, and I also bought 4, and it was also 900 meters, and of course I didn't have enough. And I knew that I won't have enough because I bought the 10th ball for my boyfriend's sweater, and I don't know why I thought that 9 will be enough. So maybe if I wouldn't knit gabled, if I wouldn't have this, wide sleeves, if I get a bit shorter sleeves, shorter body, maybe it would be enough. But then I noticed that I still wanted to do, I think, 1 or 2 hard repeats when I ran out of the yarn. So I needed to buy new yarn. And I bought that yarn, I think the main yarn I bought maybe 2 years ago on the internet. And online shopping, and the Mohair I bought it I think last spring summertime. So I knew that getting the same yarn dye-lots is almost impossible, especially for the main one, but I found where in person I could buy it in Copenhagen. First, don't pay for the shipping. Second, I can see the dye-lot, and if the dye-lot is totally different one, I could, try to order online or whatever, or go to another shop and hope for a different dye-lot again and see if it is a better match or not for my original one. And I was so happy that I came up to the shop and that new dye-lot was looking almost exactly the same as the yarn I had with me. And I was just, yes, the gods are saving me and saving my sweater. And then I went to knitting for Olive, and I said that I need, that Claret, I think, colorway it was. Vinrød, I think, or Claret, or how it was called, that colorway. And they bring it, and I was just looking, it's not the same. Because they brought me really pink leaning, and my sweater is really warm leaning. And the soft silk I had, it was more like rusty leaning red, and the one they brought me, it was maybe the same red, but this is purpley leaning, and I just, I thought that I will be fixing that new dye-lot from the original yarn with soft silk mohair, so to fix it up and merge it together, but it was such a different color. And I was just looking at it, and they were swatching something. They were knitting a lot of their swatches, knitting for all of it. They like, one color with a lot of mohairs, and I said, but I needed this color. And they had on the table, not used the mohair ball. And so the person asked, because maybe we can sell it, how much do you need? I said, I just need to finish my sweater. I don't need a lot. And we waited. It was 9 grams left out of 25 gram ball. And they said that they don't need that one anymore. Later on, I noticed that on the shelves they had another dye-lot, which was way closer to the dye-lot I had. It had already this more rusty undertones than this purple leaning undertones of the new dye-lot. So maybe I would still be able, but that seller was not thinking about, getting me more dye-lots to finding in the shop. So she was just picking up from their stash and almost trying to sell me the first dye-lot they got it in. And so another one on the counter was the leftover. And apparently it was the perfect amount. I was left with 2 grams of that mohair. So this is really good use of the yarn, I believe. And they sold me that so cheaply. I almost believe that they made a mistake, because I think that I paid around only €1 for those 9 grams, which is more than a third, less than a half of the ball, I think, of 25 grams, 9 grams. But the price of the whole ball, I think it's around to maybe €10. Yeah. So I've just, later on when I was thinking, this doesn't look like a good deal for you, but maybe since it was used, left over, and I was really happy. I was really happy because the dialogue was good, the cost was really low. Of course, I bought more yarn from them. I just needed, again, mohair to save another yarn, which would be probably too much. And at first I was thinking for that yarn to find the same company's mohair, but then I decided if I'm enjoying knitting for olive mohair, okay, this is my first knitting for olive yarn sweatshirt, which not fully knitting for olive, but which holds. And I'm living now so close to them. Not that close. I live in the same town, city as them, and I can visit them. They are quite far away, actually, like 40 kilometers away from me, but it's basically the same area. And it is way easier, and everyone is so hyping up how good they are, and I really want to try their Merino. Merino too. But at least I found the mohair, and but I don't have the most sensitive skin, and it's just soft for me, and I'm just happy that this sweater is getting as much possibility to be a bit long lasting as it could, but overall I think it will wear, but I think it's cute. I think it turned out well. It's just like a warm hug. It's really cozy. First time I went to go out of it, even before vlogging, I just wanted to go outside, and it just was the perfect sweater for the weather. Of course, it's getting warmer and I need maybe less warm sweaters, but I believe for the next year, for the Christmas period, this is my first red sweater in my wardrobe in multiple years. I'm just so excited. I believe it looks nice. I'm just so happy how it turned out. And moving forward to only another finished object, which I finished yesterday in the evening, cast it off, are these socks. So I knitted one pair of adult socks, and I decided that I don't like especially that bright pink. Of course, I knew that what I was like. I really wanted to try it out, this stripy sock yarn, more fun, more exciting. And once in my local supermarket, they just for the autumn season, they brought up some batches, like backed up like 2 balls, 75 grams yarn, 75 grams, 200 meters. I don't know why they wrote DK, because DK it's not finger, it's fingering weight. But I believe this is not a knitter made this envelope. They just maybe got some yeah, it's just not, I think 6 strand in other languages, and in English is just DK they wrote. But yeah, so 75% wool, 25% polyester. So I decided that it's supposed to be good socks, and it is fun. It is irregular stripes, so I don't need, and the idea is that both socks are not matching. And now I notice that they have exactly the same stripes, but going reversed. So I think they, wound balls in different ways, and then, just sell those 2 balls together. And I also noticed that at least, even if these balls were from the same dialog, this has these darker areas, and this one, darker areas are basically the same as lighter beige or whatever. So it's so funny that they are not. But the idea was not that they shouldn't be. And their pattern repeats, goes like this. Pattern repeats, and I think the second pattern is around the heel, so it's not seen maybe as much, because they have almost exactly the same heel, with purples and beiges. Yes, so another flip is here. The stripe repeats, and Probably you could, but it is like randomly wound, and idea is that they do not match. I really enjoy that at least toe and the cast off edges matching. I was knitting toe up. I was calculating again a pattern for myself with my gauge and etc. And then I just started making myself a Excel sheet which would just bring me numbers. When I just enter, you know, the idea was I enter my gauge, I enter how big sock I want, because I just found, you know, what is 4-year-old size. My goddaughter is now 2 years old. 2 years and a few months. And I'm thinking to gift it to her for when she will be almost exactly 3 years old. So I don't know if I try to knit it bigger so the kids would totally have some time to wear it, and maybe it won't be good fitting and way too big, because I don't know. But at the same time, I have no idea how 3-4-year-old leg changes. I still needed to block it, but I was left with a little bit of the yarn, and I waited, so it should be enough for the baby socks. So I'm knitting a baby socks because I don't want to use this yarn, but I don't want to be left over with this yarn. I just want to get rid of this yarn and get rid of it by knitting it out of my stash. If with other sock yarn leftovers, I was thinking maybe in the future I will do some color work socks and whatever. So, you know, collecting, gathering a little bit different colors, sock yarn leftovers, it's also a good idea. But with these, since it is self-striping, I don't think that they would be good like for some color work or whatever. And as I said, I'm getting really tired and I don't want to see this yarn again. I don't want this yarn again. And yeah, so yeah, I decided to give the first adult pair to my aunt, godmother, because as I said, I decided that I actually hate this pink color, and since I was knitting I was looking so much into it, I just, no, I don't want these socks anymore. And the second pair I knitted for my goddaughter, so godmother, goddaughter. And leftover yarns, it looks like it will be good for 3 months, because I knitted in the beginning of this year from another fingering weight yarn 3 months old socks, and they were weighing, I think, 23 grams, and was basically the same gauge. And I checked that I have maybe 25 grams left. And since this is, maybe I will want to also match up where I finish, and the, you know, cuff could be a bit higher or lower. I'm just knitting the same size. It is really nice, since the first sock, 3-month sock, I wrote down all the numbers, like mini instructions for myself. So I have these instructions, and they public on Driverly. Whoever wants, they can go there and check that pattern, not released. And I was just, for these ones, I was testing out my Excel calculator. So I made it like for every line, so it would be calculate. So instead of me recalculating every time I have a new sock size I want to knit for myself or for my boyfriend or for the growing up kids, you know, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, you know, 4 years, and just gathering average sizes from the internet, and trying to figure it out, you know, all these counts. So it just let our computer do the counting. And I was interested in trying to make myself maybe a Word file with actual instructions, and then insert, I think it is possible, calculations from the Excels. I don't know. I was thinking to ask ChatGPT how to make it work, so I would be able to have like a text formulated with the nice instructions, and then you can enter like gauge and size, and then it will be recalculating. I also started knitting because it was really good traveling, and for the Easter week I went to visit my family in Lithuania. So I took yarn. I bought this yarn in Canada. It's from Canadian wool. I have somewhere a label, I don't know where it is now. And I was starting knitting socks for myself, and I believe the biggest change I noticed between like kid sizes and the adult sizes, that for an adult size, I for sure want to do it not too big, not too loose, and more like fitted socks. So I want that negative ease, and with the kid sizes with their feet constantly growing and growing, I didn't want to, you know, add some negative ease because their growth will most likely quick soon add that negative ease. So maybe it's good that it starts. So then again, I was thinking about my calculator. Maybe I should, instead of, you know, someone typing in measurements, to have already, you know, kid version without negative ease and adult version with negative ease. Another thing, I don't know. Okay, I will take this sock as for example. But yeah, so I'm just knitting with this yarn I bought in Canada. I decided to add just simple ribbing on the top, and it has simple stitch. This is 2.5 millimeter needles. I didn't break them. That was also really good on my flight. So yeah, I really love knitting 2 socks at a time because then I don't have second sock syndrome. It's, for me, it's so easy, so convenient, so nice. And then, yeah, but I noticed, at least for my leg, like around this area, it's 21 centimeter, at least for my feet. At this one area, the smallest point is 24 centimeters. So I feel like, so I'm planning to do more increases for my leg for this, for the gusset part, start increasing a bit earlier and add a few more increases. So instead of, you know, all the new stitches going into the heel, so they could flow into the leg part, because as I said, my leg is maybe 3 centimeters already wider, and I believe that may help me to have a better fit sock. So I'm experimenting, I am testing out my now calculations, and now this is why I thought that it would be so also easy to do it for maybe slip stitch heel too. Just a calculator for these socks. And yeah, about this yarn, I bought it because I thought that it will be fun, all these, you know, different colors without really being like perfect matching sock. And then I understood that actually, and I think I was selecting between 2 colors, and one of the colors I liked more, like yellow and red, but they also had black, and I was afraid that it will look more like German flag, and I didn't want it black in the sock. I wanted a bit more like more fresh, especially with the yellows and etc. I didn't want that huge contrast, and I felt like by the packaging it looked like this will not have as much high contrast. I think maybe blue or purple. One yarn was in one color and another yarn was in this stripy pattern. So I was thinking, if it is not enough, I don't want one sock be stripy and another one in plain color. I believe since I have so much yarn leftovers, it might be possible to do like a toe, heel, and maybe cuff with, for example, straight or one color, and then, you know, all these variegated stripy ones on the all like leg and foot with. So that could be fun. That would be probably possible. But at the time, I didn't knit it that much socks. I didn't know that much. But I would never buy this, well, it's this color yarn again, because it is annoying, and I'm just knitting it now to finish it up. So I could like throw it away and it wouldn't take me my mind space or whatever, and I would just fully use it. But I'm a bit sick of it, but I know that the baby socks are so quick to knit. So I believe in a day or 2, I can just finish these ones and be over, because I feel over with the socks. So moving on, another thing on the accessories again, this was my train knitting. And all my life I was monogamous knitter, knitting mostly one item, but I also mostly knitted when in Norway I was either working from home or my office was 10 minutes in walking distance, so I didn't need to commute. And now I'm commuting with the train, and I spend in the train maybe 40 minutes one way, so 1.5 hours almost. And I have now commute time, and the commute, I could take also those socks, but at the same time sometimes I like to have more things to take on the train, so I wouldn't need to think that much. So for the train knitting, I want just cast it off, no decisions make. I don't need to try it out to know how it's going, just to, that I could go. And actually on my commute, like flying in Lithuania, this is not that much knitted, but flying up front I didn't knit it, and then when I started on knitting in Lithuania, I frogged it multiple times because it was getting too big, and then I decided that I want to get negative ease. And at my parents' place I have another knitting project. It's just fluffy beige square blankets, mini blanket to knit in. I planned to take a picture or a small video of it. I forgot it, and it's on the needles. I just need to finish it up. And it's just so bulky, so I don't fly in and back with it. It just now, I brought the yarn there and the needles. I'm really excited to get that cable back because this is one of the longest cables, and I don't have that many long cables. So I'm quite excited to also do that this year. But even if I had more knitting time, I was not knitting on the socks, I was knitting that. But yeah, so I am knitting a scarf for my husband, a Harry Potter scarf, Ravenclaw scarf. And since he wanted a scarf with a patch, I was checking, can I do it myself? Some Ravenclaw first, knitting in pattern. I done some sketches, they didn't look as good. Maybe embroider, but I'm not the biggest embroiderer, and it'd be a bit more complicated. And then I was looking on the internet, and some iron-on patches can cost more than 20 euros, and it's not worth it, until I found, I think, on eBay the cheapest one, but since shipping was quite expensive, so I took two. So I think then half of the price was shipping, half of the price were these two ones. Now I'm a bit sad that I didn't bring at least one for Gryffindor. So my plan is to knit him a scarf and a matching hat, and of course then I want for myself Gryffindor scarf and a matching hat. So I cast it on. So I'm using Drops extra fine merino wool, if I'm not mistaken. It is superwash yarn. I liked this yarn because it is soft, so nobody is scratching anything. I liked it for the gifts, so it should be easier to take care of, even if I wash all my hand knits by hands, except cotton tops. I messed it up, that magical cast on. Is it Judy's magical cast on? Where you don't have a seam. So it looks beautiful. But I cast it on, I think, was it 33 and 34 stitches? So it is not really evenly one stitch difference. So, but it's not a big difference. So I would change something. Oh, look at this. But I am not patching it on before I wash it, because if it grows, I don't want it to be strangely scrunched up. Oh, first time I'm seeing how it will look like, and I think it looks adorable. But I'm thinking maybe another one on the hat to add it, because you don't need to on both ends maybe. But I put the marker where is the middle of the stitches, especially if I would lose the count. So yeah, this marks the middle, and I think it's so looking so beautiful. And I think I noticed that on the train in a week, maybe I can do 2 stripes. So I think 6 stripes in, and my plan is around 9, or I think either 9 full and then this one, or just, yeah, I think 9 full stripes and then, 10th half of the stripe without the mini stripes, because this is like 1 stripe, I'm calling it, or 1 repeat. So I think 9 repeats plus repeat without mini stripes. I also weave in ends as I go. I recently switched a ball, even if you don't see it, but I believe it may help without any having gaping. First time I don't knit anything. So I think this is my first striped project ever. So I'm trying to do this invisible or jogless stripes. So I think they're turning out quite well. I'm doing it that you slip the first new color stitch on the second round. So I think in some cases I can see that it scrunches it a bit more, but I believe with the blocking it will work out. So I believe it is turning out nicely. It will be fun. It will be nice. But yeah, now I want one from Gryffindor, but since this is double layered, I wanted for myself maybe more fingering weight than if I'm held double, because the DK feels clunky. In a way I like it, because even if it is small scarf, it is still will be warm. But and the plan is not to make it too long, because last scarf I made it too long for my boyfriend. He was not wearing it. And then I shortened up and he now wears it, and it was also cold period came in. So I don't want to make it too long for him. And I think I calculated, was it that one stripe was around 10 centimeters or less or more? If it is more, maybe 8 maybe would be enough full repeats. Oh yes, I calculated, I think that it is 14 centimeters plus minus. So if I'm doing like 10 repeats, it is 1 meter 40 centimeters plus it may grow. So now I can see that by this one it is a bit more than 14 centimeters, but it is also, I believe, okay. This ruler is up to 14 centimeters. I believe it is 15 centimeters, exactly like 1 full repeat. So if I have almost 10 repeats, it will be around 1 meter 40 centimeters, and I think that would be perfect. So yeah, no more than 9.5 repeats. It will be perfect length, I believe then. So I have, I think 6 full repeats already done. So 7, 8, 9, and 10ish. So I can be done in 2-ish weeks. So maybe even before our move. So this, and yeah, it is mindless. It is nicely growing. It is really easy. Just, I know, video editing, knitting too. It just goes and goes and goes. But yeah, it was a bit more bulkier to bring than that one cake of the Canadian. I don't know. This feels smaller and still more work to do. And with that, maybe extra ball needed, etc. And the last item, when I finish this sweater, but I want to show you something more. So when I finished this sweater, of course, it was time to cast on something new for myself. Something exciting. And one of the yarns I really wanted to use it, this one. This is my first ever bought hand-dyed yarn from Apmezga, Lithuanian hand-dyed yarn. When I saw one YouTuber mentioning it, I was so excited that actually there is Lithuanian who dyes, and someone in Europe bought their yarn. It was so exciting for me, and it was such an Easter color. But it became my precious, so I was slightly scared to start using it. And another thing is that I need to wind it up. And when you wind it up, you need to almost immediately use it up. And I already wound up another ball of yarn. So I decided that first I need to knit with it. But I already wound up some yarn. So I decided that I needed to use it because I was planning to use it, but then I had the gauge was wrong, so I bought another yarn for the test knit. So I had this ball bounded in the bowl in the cake, and I decided that I need to use it because, as they say, staying in the cake form, especially if it was squished, it can stretch out the yarn and it's not healthy for the yarn. It was a bit boring to starting another like red color sweater. It's not the same. It's obviously not the same color. This is a bit more purpley leaning, burgundy. Sometimes it's really purpley, sometimes it just feels like more burgundy. So next to the sweater, probably it looks purple. It looks purple. But yeah, I still feel like it is in the reddish family. So I was less excited than working with that yellow yarn. But I still decided to cast it on. And now a week went and I didn't do anything with it. So it's a bit more maybe complicated to talk about it. But this yarn is Isager Alpaca 2, I believe it is. Alpaca 2 Isager. Made in Peru. And it is such a nicely spun. I think when I was buying it, it felt like a bit scratchy. In a way that I felt like, ooh, this is quite rustic. But the more I knit, the softer it feels. So I believe after blocking it will be really soft. And it feels like I think this is my first time holding two strands together. And I think it gives such a nice, loose, airy gauge. I believe it will be such a nice flowy top. I started knitting Winnie sweater by... Wow, Lilykit friends. Lilykit makes on the social media. I test knitted this one in the blue color, but the blue version was a bit too small, so I gave it away. Well, my plan was to give away to my godmother, but my mother said that, well, the sweater looks like hers, so she kept it. My godmother wears, I believe, even more like the sweater I gave it to her, and I never saw my mom wear the first sweater I gave it to her, but my mom keeps it for special occasions, maybe, and her house is a bit warmer than my godmother, so it's not that I wanted not to give a sweater to my mother, but I felt like it would be maybe more appreciated in other hands, but my mom really wanted it, and I cannot say no to my mom. If she really wants it, if she loves it, I guess it's hers. And maybe for my godmother, I will knit some other day something maybe actually special for her and not my old sweater or failed sweater, but it's a really beautiful pattern. I just knitted it. I was unable to prolong it because also it had the really beautiful lace detail on the side, so I'm not doing that to the sweater. And it also has a beautiful lace details around the neck and around all the edges. If I'm too lazy, I might do 1x1 rib stitch for the V-neck and all the other edges, but I'm leaning towards not be lazy. And another lazy not lazy thing is that I reduce the number. I think my gauge is it is bigger, so I was trying to do a slightly less rows in clever way, and I think the first sweater was getting a bit too deep for my bust, so I wanted to, well, it's not too deep, but it felt like a bit showy, so I tried to also reduce, I think, a few less rows to do it and join it in the round. I am knitting, is it size 2? Yeah, on this gauge. I think my perfect, like if I would get perfect gauge, maybe I should be knitting size 3, but since my gauge is looser, I think 20 stitches, I am knitting size 2, I guess. Not 1. I really need to. I hope I write it down. I always link my Ravelry, and I usually like to add all the information here and a lot of information in the comment section, not comment, description of the video. But yeah, I didn't knit it in a week, so I am a bit forgotten. But I think that my plan is to finish these 2 balls. I'm holding them together. And then wind new balls and maybe knit sleeves first, neckline, and figure out what I'm doing it. So I believe it's going nicely. It is really nice fabric, and I believe, and I'm, believe and sad at the same time that it will be, feels like my new favorite yarn. And it was quite expensive. I believe, was it 500 Danish kronas? Is it around 60 euros or something? And my whole idea with knitting, and the first version of Winnie sweater, I knitted with drops Lima. And my whole idea is to try to knit with cheaper yarns and then go a bit expensive and expensive until I found the perfect yarn, because then it will be best price and quality match. Because it's so easy to spend a lot of money. And this is why maybe I try to, a lot of cheaper yarns and knit with them, just not to overspend. But yeah, this yarn, I'm falling in love. And I don't like that I'm falling in love with, and I had drops Lima. It's way cheap. It was half the price for the sweater than this one. It can get crazy, but for the sweaters, if we want them to be long lasting, not pill, and always feel polished and nice, I think they're worth it. And it is good to start with knitting with cheapest yarns and go to more expensive until you find also good quality, because you also build up your knowledge set and your skill set. And with each sweater, you're knitting better and better, and you see, what you like and don't like. So that was my strategy. And if I really love this yarn and I will want to knit more items in it, I could probably allow myself. And sometimes, and I don't have a really huge yarn stash. Once I challenge myself to write down all the full quantities I have in my stash, and I think I still was able to mention it was maybe still 5, 6, or 7, maybe 8-ish. I don't know, 8 maybe with, so one of this was red yarn, which I had in stash for so long. Another was this one, and I bought it for the test knit, but it was wrong gauged. And I then bought a new yarn, really maybe stressing myself, like one sweater quantity of hand-dyed yarn, one maybe of a really good sale yarn. Then I still have from my wedding dress some leftovers. So I have few quantities, not that much, but sometimes I believe it is cheaper to buy for the project than just buy and buy and buy yarn, as you see others do, and that feels crazy to me. So I'm really happy with this sweater. I hope I'm now at the step where I just questioning everything, what neckline should be, what to knit next, when to start, a bit waist shaping, because I always like to add these, decreases and increases again, even if the pattern doesn't have it. Because I think between my bust and waist is 20 centimeters or 8 inches difference. So I believe if everything just falls evenly, it just doesn't have a nice look. So I like, but follow my body shape, not to exaggerate, not to hide it, because I believe if it goes straight from the boobs, it just feels like really shapeless. So I believe this is at the point where I will question everything I'm doing it, and then when I finish it, I will be so happy yet again. I really hope that this year I will be taking my time to knit items in a way that I would really enjoy them. Don't shorten them up, don't try to rush it out. Give them time, give the effort, and frog if needed, and hopefully it will produce items I will want to wear and wear again. And I think Winnie sweater is actually designed for cashmere yarn, but I believe it is 100%, is it 100% alpaca? I think, or is this mix with 50% alpaca, 50% wool. Because if it is only alpaca, I was starting to think that it can maybe become too drapey, because this is already really drapey fabric. Maybe it's, yeah. So I was afraid that it may grow, but I think this, flowy fabric will really match the pattern too. It will be so elegant, I believe. I want to wear it. But it could be that I will finish it for summertime and it will be too hot to wear it, like with this sweater. But then I can knit another thing for myself. So thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!